Hello everyone, I want to do a quick video here where I just cover some quite obscure Mortal Kombat lore, but something that's relevant, especially with the newest game. We're talking about Havik and his buddy Darrius over here, who in Mortal Kombat 1, as we've seen a couple scenes, they are always together. Darrius is Havik's story cameo, and they fight together every time they appear. Darrius gets no voice lines, which is especially odd of all cameos, because the other cameos logically would be quiet. They don't need to speak in the scenes they're in. But Darrius is a weird one because, Havik's face gets burned off and he has no reaction. He kind of disappears. It's very odd. But yeah, in story, they are allies. And of course, because there's no real characterization for Darrius, doesn't speak or anything, cameos don't have any bios and whatnot, it makes sense that a lot of people don't understand why they're partners, but I've seen a lot of people weirdly think this is inaccurate to the lore, and this game is inaccurate to the lore in many, many ways, but this partnership really isn't one of them. This is actually on the original timeline, and I'll show you now. So we have page 22 of the Mortal Kombat Deception Manual, which there is a couple pages that cover the fighters, and it's kind of like the bio cards. There's a few in Deception, and most end up going around for Unchained or Armageddon, and they're kind of in a style of this in the manual. It only covers half the roster, the half that is unlocked, which is unfortunate, but makes sense. And if we zoom in a bit here, we see Darrius. Look at his allies list. Havik and Dairu. So yeah, Havik was an ally of Darrius. And you wonder why they'd be allies, because it seems like people have this misconception that all Order Realmers, all Saiyans, not Sidons. I know it said Sidons because of the new game, which changes the pronunciation from Sado to Sido, which is just annoying. It's Sado. But regardless, here it says, leader of resistance in the realm of order, Darrius lives a life in the shadows. His ambition is to overthrow the oppressive regime that strangles freedom. To some he is a hero, but to others he is nothing more than a terrorist. So he's also against the Satan government, like Havik. So it makes sense why they're partners. They have a mutual enemy, and their goal is mutual in the sense that they both want change to the realm. But it's different in that Havik just wants to bring the realm down to chaos, basically wants to destroy it. Whereas Darrius kind of wants it reformed. So yeah, that's where the differences lie. But yeah, they're allies. And it's not just mentioned here in the manual. Here's the second time it's mentioned. When you go to Darius' training, you can find him in Order Realm. After completing the main story of the Conquest mode in Deception, you can start his training. The first text box here says, Havik has informed me of your Chaos training, referring to Shujinko and Havik training within the story. We could use a warrior such as yourself in the Resistance, but you must be trained first. And it just goes on about the styles. But yeah, this clearly establishes that Havik and Darrius are allies. And again, if you know the lore of both characters, it makes total sense why they'd be allies. Because they're both against Satan government, they're against the Satan Guard, both enemies of Ataru and whatnot. So yeah, that's literally about it. I get why there's a misconception, because unfortunately Darrius here does get no laws. So for a character, especially Darrius, he stands out as the only character in the game right now that is a really out there pick. He's one of the very unpopular characters, which is unfortunate because I think Darrius is fantastic. But until Bravado DLC gets added, he's the only character that really doesn't have many fans. Of course, Harry carries a lot of fans, but he's definitely the most obscure of the characters. So it makes sense why a lot of people would go, I don't know this guy, I don't know his deal. Wait, he's an Order Realmer? Then why is he with Havik? It makes sense. The context for this game is that Havik is also a Satan. It's really dumb lore. If you're a Havik fan, you know it sucks. I don't think that's a hot take to say that the new Havik is really bad, but basically he is part of this resistance. I don't know if he's the leader or if Darrius is. They really don't clarify. They don't really state it as the Satan resistance. It's not really a proper faction. We don't really see other members. But they're both here and they're both working for Quan Chi because they want help in bringing down the regime. Which in Havik and Rain's ending ends up with Havik recruiting Rain to just commit genocide, basically. And there's no mention of Darrius beyond that, which is weird. So yeah, that's why they're allies in this context. It still makes sense. Arguably more so because Havik in the new timeline is more or less Darrius. Like, his lore is very similar. In the sense that he's a Saiyan who hates oppression, yada yada yada, has a mix of resistance. That's about it. It makes sense why they're partners, and I hope this lets you in on a bit more about what the deal with Darrius is. He's a cool character. It's really cool to see him as a cameo, but unfortunately I don't think it's going to help his odds, seeing how the cameos really don't get any info about him. You really don't. So if you're a casual, he is just a guy. A really cool dude, but he is just a guy. They provide no information about him, which is a shame. I think it counts on a lot of wasted potential. But yeah, that is about it. Now, another thing that people have used to try and explain this, which I don't think is a good explanation, is that Havik is Dairu, or at least by name. So there's an intro dialogue that where Reptile calls him Dairu, and then Havik's like, how do you know my real name? And for those in the know, Dairu and Darrius are also allies. Dairu is basically a mercenary. Darrius is hired in for various means. And people think that's why they're allies. And I don't think that's the case. I think it is just the Havik and Darrius alliance, of course, with Havik's new lore in mind. Because Dairu and this Havik really aren't alike outside of Havik being another Saiyan character now. That is about it. That's for the similarities that lie. Everything else is different. I really wouldn't say this is Dairu being playable again. This is not Dairu. It just unfortunately means that Dairu has very little chance of returning. Maybe as a cameo. But I mean, again, Darrius is like the only out there cameo pick right now. So I wouldn't expect Dairu at all. Which is a shame. But yeah, I think people overthink the whole Havik is Dairu thing. It's just a name. They probably think it's a really clever, obscure callback, even though it's a fully previously playable character. Yeah, it's a shame. But yeah, that's about it. I think I've covered like every part of this. Darrius and Havik are allies, they always have been. It makes sense. Havik still sucks in this game, but that partnership makes sense. That is not a bad part of the story, I'd say. So yeah, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.